blast of pure energy at the creature. The attack hit the monster head-on, creating a huge explosion, but the creature was far from beaten. It let out an angry roar as its shadowy form began to pulse with a terrifying red light, its fanged mouth growing larger and more threatening. It was clear that the attack had only made it angrier, causing its mutation to get worse. The enraged monster lashed out with its massive claws, and one soldier shouted a warning to his comrade. The other soldier managed to block the attack, but the force of the blow sent him flying backward. Ji Royan immediately took charge, ordering her team not to be careless and to keep their distance. She knew they had to finish the creature off before it could complete its evolution. Watching from the side, Fang Yi was impressed by the soldier's performance. He saw a well-trained team of comrades who trusted each other completely, with incredible discipline and coordination. He knew that every person was essential, and that when they worked together, they could unleash a power far greater than their individual strengths. This thought, however, was immediately broken when he realized the monster's power was increasing at a scary rate. He shouted at them to run, warning them that they were no match for the creature in its current state. But his warning was lost in the chaos. The monster shot out a massive blast of dark purple energy, sending the soldiers flying. Ji Royan refused to back down. She ordered her team to raise their alert level and upgrade the restricted area's mutation level. With a furious roar, she commanded that no one was to retreat. It was too late. The monster's transformation was complete. It now stood as a huge, demonic beast, covered in black and red flames, its eyes glowing with pure evil. One of the soldiers shouted a terrified warning. The evil dog had fully mixed with the dark attribute and completed its mutation. The creature's single eye, now a burning red orb, focused on a new target. It fixed its gaze on Wang Liang, who could only stare back, frozen in terror. As the monster prepared to strike, Ji Royan and Fang Yi both reacted in horror, realizing with a jolt that Wang Liang was in mortal danger. Just as the monster completed its evolution, lunging forward in a blast of power, a soldier was violently thrown backward by a surge of energy. Ji Royan immediately shouted for her team's attention, announcing that the C-level evil dog had fully mutated and was now reclassified as a B-level threat, requiring an immediate change in their battle plan. The soldier who had been thrown to the ground coughed up a spray of blood. Fang Yi rushed to his side, catching him and asking if he was all right. The injured soldier explained that he had been trying to send spiritual energy to the monster's restraining collar, but the creature's evolution had caused the device to violently explode. Despite coughing up a black, thick liquid, the soldier tried to be brave, telling Fang Yi not to worry about the officers of Restricted Area 19. Fang Yi could only look on with a grim, angry expression. Realizing her normal weapons were now useless, Ji Royan dropped her heavy energy cannon to the ground. She stood before her remaining troops, her determination unshaken. She gave a final, desperate order. No matter what they had to do, even if it cost them their very lives, they could not let this B-level mutation escape the restricted zone. But just as she and her team were about to make their last stand, Fang Yi stepped directly in front of her, blocking her path. Ji Royan demanded to know what he thought he was doing, but he ignored her. His eyes and hand began to glow with a brilliant blue light as arcs of raw lightning crackled around him, a clear sign that he was about to join the battle himself. Surrounded by crackling blue lightning, Fang Yi mocked the monstrous creature, his eyes glowing with power as he questioned how tough it was. He then charged toward the mutated beast, his arm a bolt of bright blue energy aimed right at the creature's head. The impact was huge, as a massive explosion of divine thunder erupted when he hit it, completely overwhelming the monster. The sheer force of the attack created a powerful shockwave that sent the nearby soldiers flying backward. One of the soldiers, stunned, said he couldn't believe it, realizing this was the same B-level monster that even their commander, Ji Royan, couldn't beat alone. Wang Liang, just as shocked, turned to Ji Royan and asked if his friend was really who they thought he was. With a serious look, she confirmed that none of them were wrong. She declared that he was, without a doubt, the pioneer known as the Tyrant. Fang Yi stood calmly before the beast, which was still on fire but clearly hurt by the lightning. Seeing it wasn't completely beaten, he noted that he would have to finish the job. He then told Ji Royan and Wang Liang to stand back for their own safety. Ji Royan watched him, thinking about how her whole squad needed a complex formation just to face a B-level threat, yet he was getting ready to handle it all by himself. She wondered what kind of power he had. She had to admit that his was the most extreme form of the thunder attribute she had ever seen. She knew that even now, he was a top-tier pioneer in the entire country, and she began to wonder about his potential once the spiritual energy revival was fully underway. As Fang Yi raised his hand, gathering even more electrical energy, a shocked look appeared on Ji Royan's face. She looked up to see a massive storm of thunder energy forming in the sky above him, and she couldn't help but wonder just how scary his power would become as he continued to evolve. With a final step forward, Fang Yi unleashed the full power of his thunder attribute. A massive pillar of bright blue lightning erupted from the ground where the monster stood, a display of power that truly matched his codename, the Tyrant. His eyes, still crackling with leftover electricity, showed a calm determination as the blinding light from his attack began to fade. The surviving soldiers watched in terror. One commented to another that the sight made his whole body shake. While he could handle the monster's corrosive dark power, the pure, destructive force of the thunder was on a completely different level. Once the dust settled, Fang Yi casually gave a thumbs up to his friend, announcing that the threat was gone. Wang Liang rushed over, shouting with relief that Fang Yi had scared him to death. Overjoyed, Wang Liang playfully punched his friend on the shoulder, laughing that he never expected his old buddy to be so powerful. The mood then shifted as Wang Liang apologized, admitting he had suspected Fang Yi was a pioneer but had to follow orders. Fang Yi brushed it off, asking why his friend was being so formal after 3 years apart and telling him he understood. Their reunion was interrupted as Ji Royan approached them. She formally thanked Fang Yi for his help, extending her hand as a sign of respect. With a slight smile, Fang Yi accepted her thanks. He shook her hand, replying that it was no trouble and that he had mainly acted to save his friend. She then formally introduced herself as Ji Royan, the warden in charge of Forbidden Area 019. She explained that since he had saved the entire base, she needed to file a proper report and asked if he would be willing to leave his contact information. Fang Yi agreed without hesitation, while Wang Liang watched from the side, silently amazed at the strange experience of seeing his tough commanding officer act so respectfully toward his childhood friend. With the formalities done, Ji Royan made a direct and serious offer. She said that Fang Yi's strength was greater than many of the military's own special pioneers and formally invited him to join the army. However, she admitted that an invitation from a single base warden like herself was probably not enough to convince him. Inwardly, she was still trying to grasp the sheer scale of his power. What shocked her most was the realization that he was also a 3-star Ghost Axe Realm cultivator, the same as her. Yet, his abilities had reached a level far beyond the known limits of that realm, making him a monster of incredible power. Fang Yi calmly asked Ji Royan if she truly meant that she felt she was not worthy of inviting him. With the weight of her superior's authority on her, she confirmed his words, saying there was nothing to deny. She explained that the order to involve him had come from High Command, and she was certain that they would come to invite him personally in the future. Fang Yi let out a small laugh, telling her it wasn't necessary to be so formal. He placed a hand on his chest and explained that he genuinely respected all of them, knowing that not everyone had the courage to sacrifice themselves for others. He admitted that he had never seen soldiers in combat before, and what he had just seen had truly moved him. Touched by his sincerity, Ji Royan could only offer a quiet thank you. He then made an offer of his own. He told her that if they ever ran into trouble in the future, they could call on him for help, just as they had always done for ordinary people like him in the past. However, he added one important condition. They could not interfere with his personal cultivation or restrict his freedom. His unexpected proposal left Ji Royan momentarily stunned. With their business concluded, Fang Yi announced that it was getting late and he should be leaving. Ji Royan agreed, saying that she and Wang Liang still had to get rid of the mutated creature's body and that she would arrange for someone to take him back. As he stood before the soldiers, Fang Yi finally understood the military's true purpose in this new era. He realized they stationed themselves in these dangerous, spiritually rich zones for 2 reasons: to use the energy for their own training, and more importantly, to act as a crucial line of defense between the ordinary world and the strange monsters that now threatened it. After he was gone, Ji Royan turned to Wang Liang and said that his friend could no longer be described with a simple word, like impressive. She knew that what they had seen that day was just a small part of his true strength. The fact that a pioneer could reach such a high level of power so quickly showed that he had an amazing level of insight. She concluded that he was a rare mix of luck, courage, and raw ability, all the things needed for greatness. Seeing his commander's deep respect for his friend, Wang Liang eagerly suggested that if she felt she wasn't the right person to recruit him, she should let him, as his childhood friend, take on the job. Ji Royan, however, quickly brought him back to reality with a sharp tap on the head, ordering him to stop talking and help her clean up. He could only agree as he was dragged off to work. Later that night, back at his apartment building, Fang Yi meditated on the roof, surrounded by a brilliant golden aura. He thought about his meeting with the military. He knew that while the trip had revealed his identity, he had only shown them his thunder attribute, keeping his other powers a secret. Based on their respectful attitude, he concluded that this was likely a good thing. He now understood that his rare thunder attribute was a perfect counter to the dark monsters the military was fighting, making him a very valuable asset. He knew they would try to recruit him, not threaten him, which would give him access to the fastest ways to get stronger and the most advanced information. The day's events had also made clear the different roles of the nation's two main pioneer forces. The military, represented by Ji Ruoyan, were the Night Watchers, the hidden protectors of the nation. The Spiritual Energy Cultivation Association, with agents like Su Qingying, was in charge of handling the threats that slipped into the cities, protecting civilian life as much as possible. He understood the government's two-part strategy, using the forbidden zones to contain the biggest dangers while slowly releasing information to the public about the coming changes. This careful approach was buying valuable time, preventing society from collapsing into chaos. As he continued his meditation, a bright orb of golden energy pulsed in his core. He noted that despite absorbing the rich energy of the forbidden zone, he hadn't felt an immediate need to level up. However, the feeling quickly changed. Golden energy surged through him, and cracks of power spread across his face. Having spent even a short time in such a spiritually rich place had filled him to the brim. He recognized the signs immediately. He was on the verge of another breakthrough. Meanwhile, on the streets below, his cousin Lin Yi was walking home with groceries, wondering if he had returned yet. She thought that if he was home, she could have him try her cooking. Her casual thoughts were suddenly shattered when she looked up and saw a massive pillar of golden light erupting into the night sky from the direction of her apartment building. Her eyes widened in shock and alarm. A reflection of a flaming divine axe appeared in her eye as she recognized the powerful energy of a ghost axe realm advancement. But she immediately knew she was wrong. The sheer scale of the power, showing up as a massive fiery divine axe in the sky, was far too terrifying for an ordinary breakthrough. She could only stare in disbelief, wondering if another powerful pioneer was making their move in the city. On the street below, Lin Yi stared at the sky in complete disbelief. She recognized the immense power of the Ghost Axe realm, but this was something else, a force so powerful it was changing reality itself. As a giant, divine hand made of pure golden energy formed in the clouds above, she realized the terrifying truth. This was the power of the legendary spirit creation realm. The realization that a pioneer of such incredible strength was living right next to her sent a wave of shock and fear through her. The massive energy surge did not go unnoticed. Miles away, in a high-tech command center, red alarms blared as technicians scrambled. An urgent warning flashed across their screens. The anomaly value had reached a catastrophic level of 99, its location pinpointed to the southeast of the city. An official and Su Qingying reacted with alarm. The official demanded to know what was happening, ordering all units to the target area. Su Qingying wondered how such a powerful anomaly could have gone undetected, noting that an energy reading of this size was powerful enough to destroy an entire city. Before a holographic map of the city, military leaders held a tense emergency meeting. They debated the two terrifying possibilities. Either a new, godlike spirit creation pioneer had just appeared, or the city was on the brink of a massive disaster. One grim-faced officer suggested it could very well be both. The situation escalated as the senior official frantically called headquarters, demanding they send all advanced equipment, short of large-scale weapons. His panic was cut short, however, when a subordinate burst into the room, breathlessly announcing that the alert had been cancelled. The anomaly had been identified not as a monster, but as a pioneer undergoing a promotion. Back on the rooftop, the blinding golden light faded as Fang Yi let out a quiet breath of relief. The breakthrough was complete. He casually noted that he had successfully reached the one-star spirit creation realm. Aside from his body feeling lighter and more agile, he didn't feel a significant difference in his raw power. His quiet moment was interrupted when his phone buzzed with a new message. It was from his friend, Wang Liang. The message was a warning. A new anomaly had appeared at Qingcheng University's playground. Internal military sources had confirmed it was a pollution zone, and more worryingly, it was the second time this specific anomaly had occurred. Fang Yi texted back, saying he knew about the previous heat anomaly. Wang Liang confirmed it was the same one, back again, and playfully warned Fang Yi not to tell anyone he was the source of the intel. After Fang Yi jokingly threatened to report him, Wang Liang's tone turned serious. He told Fang Yi that he was genuinely worried for his safety and urged him to be careful. Fang Yi put down his phone, his expression thoughtful. His friend's warning only confirmed his own strategy. This was exactly why he was so cautious in his dealings with both the military and the association. He knew that being too well known could bring unwanted trouble, which was why he had deliberately chosen to keep his powerful Yang Flame attribute and his Crimson Flame Blade technique a secret. They were his hidden aces. He typed a final reply to his friend, reassuring him not to worry, he would be careful, and he still had trump cards left to play. Lin Yi opened the apartment door, announcing that she was back. Seeing Fang Yi on the couch, she asked if he had eaten yet, offering him the bag of takeout she had brought. Distracted by his phone, he simply told her to leave it on the table and that he would get to it later. As she watched him, a worried and slightly frustrated expression crossed her face. In her mind, she thought about her cousin's character. She saw him as a perfectly good person, but with one major flaw, his laziness. He seemed content to just stay at home all day playing on his phone, not even bothering to go to college. She found it ironic that while she and her fellow pioneers were constantly busy, seeking opportunities and hiding their true identities, her cousin lived such a carefree, seemingly aimless life. Exhausted, she went to her room and collapsed onto her bed. She knew that news of the incredible spirit creation pioneer who had just appeared in their district would spread like wildfire. Feeling a sense of duty, she resolved that when the time came, she would protect her seemingly clueless cousin as a way of repaying him. Meanwhile, Fang Yi was not just playing on his phone. He was analyzing the news report from Wang Liang, which showed a massive, raging fire at the university playground. He noted that the first anomaly had been intense heat, and now it was a fire. He wondered if this was another form of the Yang attribute. The video showed the fire had started incredibly fast and was burning with terrifying intensity. Online comments from witnesses expressed shock, with some wondering if special forces were now being called in for simple fires. The report also mentioned that all the surrounding trees and flower beds had been burned and the area was now completely locked down. Fang Yi observed that the video was short and ended suddenly, but it was clear this situation was far more serious than the previous incident at the university. He wondered what would be different about this new Yang attribute. Realizing he had to investigate in person, he knew that to get into the sealed-off area, he would have to contact his new military acquaintance, Ji Royan. The next day, a crowd of reporters had gathered outside the sealed gates of Chingcheng University, blocked by a line of soldiers. They shouted questions, asking for confirmation about the rumors of a fire that couldn't be put out, and demanding to know why an incident of this size was not being reported in the news. As the reporters pressed for answers, Ji Ruoyan and Fang Yi arrived. The crowd watched, wondering who these two imposing figures were as the soldiers immediately opened the gates, allowing them to pass without question. The reporters were left outside, confused as to how they had gotten in so easily when they had been completely blocked. Inside the cordoned-off area, they looked out over the smoldering ruins of the university playground. Fang Yi remarked on the sheer destructive power, questioning if this was the sky fire he had heard about. Ji Ruoyan confirmed that was its official name. She explained its terrifying nature. It appeared without warning, was impossible to put out, and could only be left to burn itself out until everything it wanted was turned to ash. The name, she suggested, was quite fitting. With the initial look done, Ji Ruoyan told Fang Yi she needed to head to the principal's office and asked if he would wait for her. He told her to go on ahead, saying he would be fine there. Alone, Fang Yi walked along the edge of the destroyed area, which was now blocked off with yellow tape. He knelt and touched the scorched earth, analyzing the scene. He noted that the ground was already cold, and more importantly, there was no leftover spiritual power left from the sky fire. He realized with some disappointment that this meant he couldn't collect its attribute. His plan had been too simple. His thoughts were suddenly interrupted when a familiar voice called his name. He looked up to see his ex-girlfriend, Chu Qingli, standing on the steps nearby with a friend. She asked in surprise what he was doing there. Her friend with glasses immediately recognized his name, asking Chu Qingli if this was the ex-boyfriend she had mentioned, the one who had only gotten into a vocational college. Chu Qingli simply confirmed it was him. The friend then patted Chu Qingli's shoulder with a smug, condescending look. She told Fang Yi that she understood he was likely there because he was still hung up on his ex, but now that the gap between their lives was so big, he should just give up. Fang Yi could only stare back, genuinely confused by her assumption, questioning the very idea that he would be hung up on her. From a distance, other students began to gossip about the scene. They wondered who the guy with the school beauty Chu Qingli was, guessing he must be another sad suitor. They noted he didn't look like a student from their university and complained about how security could have let an outsider in. Chu Qingli's friend with glasses stepped forward, aggressively confronting Fang Yi. She told him that Chu Qingli was now the university's campus belle and that he should think clearly about his actions. She warned him that countless guys far better than him were pursuing her and that he didn't even rank. She ordered him to leave, telling him this was not a place he belonged. She then threatened to report him to the disciplinary office if he didn't explain how he got in. Meanwhile, Chu Qingli watched him with a complicated expression. She remembered him claiming he wouldn't regret their breakup, yet here he was. She concluded that his previous lack of interest must have been an act, and that he was just putting on a brave face. Their confrontation was interrupted when Ji Royan returned, asking Fang Yi if the girl was his friend. Chu Qingli was surprised by the sudden appearance of the imposing red-haired woman. Fang Yi coolly dismissed the idea, clarifying that they were merely high school classmates and couldn't be considered friends. Ji Royan accepted his explanation, simply saying they were just classmates. Ji Royan then put on a pair of sunglasses, her already intimidating presence growing even stronger. Both Chu Qingli and her friend were visibly nervous by the woman's powerful aura, wondering who she was and how she could possibly know someone like Fang Yi. Ji Royan then turned to Fang Yi with an update. She explained that she had spoken with the principal, and the matter of the Skyfire was more complicated than they had thought. She told him that the principal was coming to take them to the fire's starting point, and since Fang Yi was now a special military consultant, his presence was required. Fang Yi agreed without any issue. Just then, a group of stern-looking officials in suits arrived, ordering everyone to scatter and announcing that the playground was to remain sealed off. Chu Qingli gasped in shock, recognizing the man leading the group as the university's principal. The other students were equally stunned. The principal was known to be an incredibly busy and hard-to-find figure, someone who was rarely seen on campus. They realized with awe that he had come personally to meet with Fang Yi and the mysterious red-haired woman. Chu Qingli's friend, however, completely misread the situation. She smirked, thinking that the principal had finally arrived to deal with the two people who weren't supposed to be there. Chu Qingli, however, remained silent, a look of uncertainty on her face. To the absolute shock of Chu Qingli and her friend, the principal and his group did not approach Fang Yi and Ji Royan as trespassers. Instead, the elderly principal walked directly up to Fang Yi and greeted him with a warm, respectful handshake. He addressed Fang Yi as the consultant, introduced by Ji Royan, explaining how worried he had been about the school's recent anomalies and the safety of the students. He expressed his immense relief that they had come to solve the situation. In an even more stunning display, the principal then bowed slightly to Fang Yi, formally putting him in charge of the entire playground matter. From where she stood, Chu Qingli could only watch, her eyes wide with total disbelief as her entire view of her ex-boyfriend was shattered in an instant. The principal's security then moved to secure the area, forming a human barrier and ordering all unrelated people to step back. As the crowd of students, including Chu Qingli, was pushed away, they buzzed with confusion, unable to understand why their respected principal was bowing to such a young man. Lost in the crowd, Chu Qingli listened as the students' opinions changed around her. They now guessed that Fang Yi must have some extraordinary special identity to deserve such treatment. Someone recalled that just moments ago, he had been dismissed as Chu Qingli's suitor or ex-boyfriend. Another person remarked on the complete reversal of status, suggesting that now, even if she were to pursue him, she might not even be able to get his attention. The final cutting realization settled in as the crowd noticed that throughout the entire exchange, the young man had not once looked at or acknowledged the campus belle, leaving her to stand alone and completely ignored. At Qingcheng University's North District, the principal led Fang Yi and Ji Royan to the site of the anomaly. He explained the series of events, starting with the Golden Sun incident, which he had hoped was the end of their problems. However, a few nights ago, a fire had started on a playground. A fire so intense that even the fire department couldn't put it out. He was thankful it happened at night when no students were around, allowing them to quickly seal off the area. The principal continued, his face growing more serious. While a single fire might have been a fluke, it was followed by fires on 2 more playgrounds. He said he had personally seen a crimson flame come down from the sky and float in mid-air, a clear sign of a supernatural event. He told them that while the other fires were eventually put out, one still remained. As they got closer to the final location, Fang Yi noted the sharp, choking smell of something burning. They arrived at a basketball court where a single hoop was on fire with a raging, eternal flame. The principal confirmed this was the starting point, the one fire that simply could not be put out. As they watched the anomaly, Ji Royan checked a device on her wrist, which showed a reading of 11. She explained to Fang Yi that it was a basic spiritual anomaly detector. She clarified that any reading over 10 was considered a disaster for ordinary people, requiring a complete lockdown. Suddenly, the device began to flash and beep wildly, the reading shooting up to 60. Ji Royan cried out in alarm at how high the value had become. Panicked, she warned the principal that if the energy kept rising, it wouldn't just affect the university, but the entire city. She declared they needed to immediately send an elite squad of pioneers to contain the threat. Before they could act on the plan, however, Fang Yi took matters into his own hands. Without a word, he leaped over the chain-link fence, ignoring the no-entry sign and heading directly into the fire. He was instantly covered by the intense flames, as Ji Royan and the principal watched in shock. At that exact moment, the reading on Ji Royan's device jumped again, now showing an incredible 110. She shouted that the anomaly had just been upgraded to S level. The principal, panicked, asked what they were supposed to do now that Fang Yi was inside. Ji Royan could only stare into the fire, questioning his recklessness and muttering that even the strongest soldier from the Forbidden Zone wouldn't dare to enter such a dangerous area alone. Inside the fire, however, Fang Yi stood completely unharmed, his silhouette calm against the raging flames. He knew that just as his Yang attribute had protected him from the divine thunder, it could also shield him from this sky fire. But he quickly found a major problem. While his power was protecting him, it also stopped him from touching the source flame itself, which meant he couldn't activate his system's ability to create a new technique. Realizing his protective aura was both a help and a hindrance, Fang Yi knew he had to get to the source flame. He watched as the fire wrapped around the basketball hoop like a great fiery dragon, understanding that he needed to get to its heart. Without hesitation, he prepared to face the fire head-on as the fiery dragon lunged toward him with a ferocious roar. In an incredibly risky move, he deliberately turned off his Golden Sun protective aura, leaving himself completely vulnerable. The sky fire instantly rushed in, covering his body in a storm of raw, burning energy. He gritted his teeth against the searing pain as the flames burned him, but he forced his hand forward, determined to touch the anomaly's core. His gamble worked. The moment his hand touched the source, his system activated, confirming it had detected the strong fluctuation of the Skyfire attribute. Despite the pain, a determined grin spread across his face. He was amazed at the Skyfire's power, noting its will was even stronger than the Desolation attribute he had recently gotten. With fierce determination, he declared that he would absorb this power no matter the cost. The system began its final calculation, successfully compiling the new data. With a triumphant smirk, he knew he had succeeded. A new system window appeared, announcing his reward. He had obtained the Skyfire attribute technique, the 9 Dragons Skyfire Sealing Art, a power designed to eliminate evil and seal all demons. As he mastered the new ability, the once wild flames became extensions of his will, wrapping around his arm like a tame dragon. The system confirmed that the compiled technique was now unlocked and ready for immediate use. As he focused his will, he began the final process of extracting the Skyfire attribute itself, absorbing its essence directly into his being. His eyes began to glow with a burning red light as fiery markings appeared on his face, a physical sign of his new power. With his hands clasped in a seal and his eyes burning with red energy, he prepared to unleash his newfound ability, calling out the name of the 9 Dragons Skyfire Sealing Art. As Fang Yi unleashed his new power, massive, glowing red chains erupted from his back, lashing out into the fire. Outside the fence, Ji Royan and the principal watched in awe. Ji Royan immediately recognized the energy signature, identifying it as a sealing aura. She remembered seeing a high-level military pioneer seal a forbidden land once before. While their methods were different, the powerful sealing aura was unmistakably similar. With a single command to shrink, Fang Yi commanded the chains to pull back. They pulled inward with immense force, gathering all of the wild sky fire and squeezing it into a single, tightly bound orb of pure energy. Floating in the air, Fang Yi held the chained ball of fire, the sealing process now complete. The sealed orb of fire then gently floated back down towards the basketball hoop. Fang Yi landed gracefully and explained the situation to the principal and Ji Royan. He stated that he had temporarily sealed the Skyfire and told them not to unseal the playground or allow anyone near it for repairs. This, he explained, would at least stop the fire from spreading any further. The principal readily agreed, assuring him that the playground would remain sealed, adding that it wasn't a problem since the university had 7 or 8 others. Ji Royan, however, watched Fang Yi with a silent, intense look, her expression hard to read.